Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Using nutrition just basically to promote our health. So, of course, hemp kind of makes it out there, and this was probably about 7, 8 years ago at this point, industrial hemp. So we knew that there are some really amazing benefits to it. There's a lot of studies out of Israel, and people really started to get into genetics and growing it. So recently, when it became legal or descheduled with the new farm bill, it was time to really open up the floodgates and get going on it. Right. So for about 100 years now, we haven't been eating hemp. It hasn't been part of our nutrition largely because it's been somewhat outlawed. And then on top of it, the last 40 years is when we discovered the endocannabinoid system, which is the master system that controls your brain and your hormones, your kidneys, your lungs, everything in your body. So there's just not that much science. So now that hemp can be legally sold, the next question is, what is it going to do to the people who take it? And that's very, very important to do.
Definitely.
Right? So the first thing that we wanted to figure out is it safe for us, right? Just very, very basic concept here. So what we did was we took a group of people and we gave them our liposomal product, and it's a liposomal hemp, CBD in there. And we just followed their liver function, their kidney function, and, a whole, about 15, 20 different indicators of health.
And now, could you quickly explain liposomal?
Sure. So liposomal is how our body wants to absorb nutrition. We basically wrap things up in these tiny little bubbles, and it looks just like nutrition to your body, and it absorbs it at really high rates. It's really a model of colostrum, right? So babies can absorb nutrition without having a digestive system because they're breastfed. And basically what we've done is we've copied that natural model to get nutrition, in this particular case, CBD and hemp, things like terpenes, et cetera, to absorb at high rates into the blood. And we actually went into the lab and we studied it, and we gave people 10 milligrams. And what we saw was about 75% absorption. This is quite amazing because if you look out there in the literature, all the other high bioavailability absorption liposomes, products, other ingredients, they only get to about 20, maybe 30% absorption, but we're able to hit 75% absorption by specifically tailoring these little bubbles to fit perfectly with hemp.
So this isn't like a nanotechnology or a micelle. This is completely different.
This is completely different. It's a hybrid of liposomes, micelles. It's really designed specifically just to deliver hemp, CBD, terpenes, et cetera, nothing else. The system works really, really well for that.
Now, are you doing this with a sublingual tincture, or what were you using in when you were doing this?
No, I mean, that's what's beautiful about it. Sublingual tinctures have about 20, 30 to 60% alcohol in them. And what I don't want to do is provide a whole bunch of poison with some health.
Thank you.
We want every ingredient in there to be healthy for you. So it's water-based. So it's got a little bit of water. Actually, it's mostly water. It's got some healthy lipids. So the healthy part of egg whites is really what it's made out of. But we get our sunflower rather than eggs. and we wrap it up, and you just drink it like anything else. Take a teaspoon of it. It makes no difference. You don't have to hold it underneath your tongue.
Beautiful.
And what's amazing is we see instant absorption. Within a couple of minutes, it's already at high amounts in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
So it acts quickly, and it absorbs at very, very high rates.
And this is really important. And the reason I'm talking about this is because we want people to understand the process that you used in your study, because for you, this was a very important part of it, because you wanted to get that absorption, that high absorption rate, so that you could actually really see how it was affecting the organs and things like that. You didn't want something that was 20% absorption rate. That's why I'm kind of harping on this, because I want people to understand that in the study, this is a very high absorption rate product, and it, I'm sure, was helpful in getting the data that you needed.
Absolutely, because we looked at 5 or 10 milligrams. If you look at all the other studies out there, people are taking 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000 milligrams. So we're really dealing with a very, very small amount, but we saw a significant increase in the blood level and very positive effects to people's health.
Awesome. Okay, so that's kind of the setup. So so you were able to determine that it was safe.
Right. So we looked at basically about 20 different indicators of health, such as liver function, kidney function, blood sugar metabolism, et cetera. And what we found out was all of these either stayed flat or improved. And this is pretty flat, maybe a slight improvement one way or another. But what was really amazing is when we looked at people's blood sugar metabolism. And we brought many people from having very high blood sugar to going back into the normal range. So it was really interesting to see how 5 milligrams of CBD daily within 28 days brought a very high percentage of people into normal blood sugar range.
So with a high blood sugar range, is that kind of indicative of prediabetes or something like that? Or
Yeah,
what does high blood sugar mean?
That's exactly right. I mean, it's indication of prediabetes to diabetes. And we'll be publishing all of this data. It's in process to be published, so people can look at the information themselves. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a chemistry doctor. So I really just look at the numbers and just make sure, look, things either improved or they stayed flat. That way we're very confident that when we give this to people, nothing bad's going to happen. It's only going to help them.
Good. Beautiful. Okay, so the next step was in using hemp and seeing how it would affect a specific ailment.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. And this is a study that I myself didn't execute, but it was executed with Colonel Philip Blair, MD. And he's a retired Army colonel who's also a medical doctor. And of course, because he himself is a veteran, he wanted to help other veterans out, specifically with PTSD or PTS, depending on which lingo you're going by. And what he saw is that with microdosing, okay, from a couple milligrams up to maybe 10 milligrams, he saw instant relief for a lot of the people that he worked with.
Nice.
And I mean, this is incredibly exciting because, a lot of these veterans, first of all, these products can be really, really expensive if you have to take several grams a day. But now with microdosing, they can take a little bit and get the relief that they were looking for. And Dr. Blair, no relation to me, but I speak with him regularly, and it's always amazing to hear the response he's getting, just the results, and how he uses it in his practice on a daily basis.
That's amazing. And so microdosing, you're saying like up to 10 milligrams type of deal?
Milligrams. A lot of people responded with 2, 3, 4, maybe up to 5 milligrams was more than enough.
That's great. That's just amazing. So, what surprised you most about the results that he had?
I think what surprised me most is the variations of issues people had. Some people were too high and it brought them back to homeostasis. Some people are too low, and it brought them up to homeostasis. So it really appears that when you feed your endocannabinoid system properly, it brings you back to being level, right? And it almost doesn't matter what kind of ailment you have, or what issues you're seeing, or what nutritional deficiencies you're seeing. This brings you back to the middle where you need to be productive, be happy, live a normal life. But that's part of it, because something I also believe in is that you also have to have good quality in to get good quality results. So, right now, something that, is not widely talked about in the hemp industry, especially, is how to standardize things, how to ensure high quality, how to ensure that, the quality of the hemp is really, really there. So what's great about living so close to all these organic hemp farms is we can go there and inspect it and make sure that there's overgrowth, make sure that the leaves have 5 to 7 points on them. That's an indication that herbicides weren't sprayed, or to make sure that, in Colorado, ladybugs will infest, or it's not really infestation, come and into a hemp field, and they will protect the hemp field from other pests. So they'll attack other bugs to make sure they don't eat all the hemp.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and they work with us. So basically, if you grow the right kind of Colorado hemp, you create a good, positive, healthy ecosystem that ladybugs and the other kind of bugs kind of come in there, and everything works together. What's really cool about the hemp farm that we go to is that every year the fields switch between USDA organic corn and hemp. So as the roots of the hemp get tilled back into the soil, it turns into food for next year's corn crop.
Oh, wow.
So you got really, really good sustainability. With the farming practices, this is really positive for the American farmer and helps, generate good farming revenue, which is important to support farms. The other thing that's nice is just a few miles down from there is where the extraction occurs. So we can go there, we can inspect it, make sure that it's extracted properly, the right conditions are being done, it's hygienic, there aren't rats running around. These are really important, critical things that we want to ensure, because this is food.
Yeah.
And I expect everywhere that I get my materials from to look like a very, very clean, sanitary kitchen. Like if I wasn't going to cook my breakfast there, I'm not going to get ingredients from there either.
Yeah, we want a GMP, lab. We want a GMP extraction source. Yeah, for sure.
Of course, yeah. So what's nice is, as this industry is maturing and growing, we can kind of keep an eye on it until it reaches that critical point where, okay, it's been done for enough years, everybody's professional and knows what they're doing, and day to day, nothing changes, and it's done in a good, reproducible, healthy, and hygienic fashion.
Standards, you got to have the standards. But that's the thing, is that we have to have standards set.
Yes. Yes, and that's important. And then, after that, I bring the hemp oil into my facility where we process it and turn it into liposomal hemp oil that, people can take and, get all the nutritional benefits from it.
So with respect to the endocannabinoid system, there aren't any tests at this point to be able to, or nobody's figured out, from what I can gather yet, like how to measure a person's endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, right now, directly measuring a person's endocannabinoid system is, let's call it for practical purposes, impossible.
Yeah.
But you can look at a variety of other indications. So you could look at inflammation, and it appears that your endocannabinoid system really controls your inflammatory system, right? So you don't need to take hemp to affect your endocannabinoid system. Turmeric, right? Yellow curry. We know one of its main mechanisms is through the endocannabinoid system, right? Green tea. A lot of us thought that green tea had its own pathways, etc. But what we're finding out is it really augments the endocannabinoid system.
No way. I did not know that.
Ginger, echinacea, all of these really well-known herbs, really amazing foods, are just so incredibly healthy for you because they really help to promote your endocannabinoid system and have it firing correctly. So a lot of people think, oh, okay, I'll take CBD, okay, and that will feed my endocannabinoid system. But that is completely incorrect. And there's actually a lot of clinical studies, and this is what's really interesting, that the higher purity oil towards, higher percentage CBD,
Yeah.
the less it works.
Oh, is that the biphasic?
There's
The bell curve?
biphasic, there's the bell-shaped curve. Another paper that I can't remember just came out a couple months ago again. So we have multiple papers now showing that the more raw the hemp oil is, the more efficacious it is. So, and that makes sense. I mean, think about it. We've been eating hemp for thousands of years, right? There's botanies of desire, right? Where it tracks hemp and mankind. I mean, we used to grow it for food. We used to grow it to turn it into sails, to turn it into rope, right? I mean, the same thing with apples, the same thing with potatoes. Think about it. Mankind, apples, potatoes, and hemp have been together for thousands and thousands of years. Of course, raw hemp, or it's, and delivered well into the body, is going to be the most efficacious way of using it.
Right? Yeah, and go ahead.
I'm saying, rather than trying to isolate one single ingredient out of it called CBD, what we're finding out is the other ingredients, the terpenes, the minor cannabinoids, they're doing the heavy lifting.
That's what I was just going to say. Is like, so we're talking about more of a full spectrum or broad spectrum rather than an isolate, and that's and so these terms have come up now, like broad spectrum. People are saying, oh, well, it's a full spectrum minus THC. If it's a full spectrum, yeah, but it's full spectrum industrial hemp, so it's less than 0.3% THC. And so they're trying to come up with these marketing words to use.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, it's a really, really simple equation, okay? And the clinical studies are pointing to it again and again. And that is that the oil that you want to get, should be less than 50% CBD. All right. And I'm not talking about 50% CBD, after people dilute it down with other things. I'm talking about coming in as 50% CBD with at least 50% other material. So one of the quality specifications I always look for in all our hemp oil is to make sure that there's a couple of other percent of other cannabinoids, in the oil. Because I want the other cannabinoids, I want the terpenes, I want all of that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that a few years back there was something. It was with the NIH, and they did an online webinar. They had a bunch of people there in California, and they talked about the endocannabinoid system and medical cannabis. And there was a Dr. Daniele, I don't remember his last name, but they had a question and answer section, and we were able to tweet in questions. And so the question I tweeted in at that point in time was, is it possible that endocannabinoid deficiency is actually causing disease? And he just said yes, and he pushed the microphone slowly away from him because he sat back and just crossed his arms because he did not want to touch it. So what do you think about, not having a healthy endocannabinoid system, not having that deficiency where you don't have that homeostasis? What do you think? And this is pure speculation, people. What do you think that it could do to your body?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, all the research on the endocannabinoid system shows it as the master regulatory system, right? So it's the system that controls all the other system, your neurological system, your cardiovascular system, your hormone system, your immune system. So if your master system is out of whack and is not healthy, is not being fully fed, nothing else in your body is going to go right, right? I mean, your body's about an even keel and homeostasis. And if you're starving one of your systems, over time, everything else is going to fall apart, right? So, I mean, and that's why it's so important to eat nutrient-rich food, right? I mean, I think a lot of times we tend to concentrate on dietary supplements and very specific things, but the human body is complex and it needs a lot of ingredients. And the truth is, whether we're happy to admit it or whether we're embarrassed to admit it, is that there's just a lot we don't know. And we're continuously learning new things. 50 years ago, we didn't know there was an endocannabinoid system.
Exactly.
We didn't know we discovered a new organ 3 years ago in the human body. I mean,
It's absurd.
If you talk to somebody 6 years ago, they would have been like, no, we know all the organs in the human body. But then a couple years later, nope, here's another one. we didn't understand this correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, we're going to continue learning and find out new things about how our bodies work and how the endocannabinoid system regulates up or down or just brings things into homeostasis all our other system. And we're going to really start understanding all the different interactions and secondary interactions. And, it's like one of those things. I was reading a paper the other day where they were talking about how NSAIDs, so things like aspirin, Tylenol, those kind of pain relievers actually work on your endocannabinoid system.
No.
I mean, it's like I said, I mean, truly a new field of science has just opened up, and that's trying to understand how our bodies interact with CBD, with cannabinoids, with terpenes, with hemp in general, with cannabis. I mean, it's a whole new world there. I mean, this is really, really exciting. It's not very often that a new frontier opens up.
Exactly. I mean, how many times in a lifetime does that happen?
It doesn't happen very often, but here we are in Colorado, which is a fantastic place to be for this. And we get to do science and learn brand new things about the human body that we didn't know 5 years ago.
Exactly.
I will never get this opportunity again.
Yeah.
This is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
You're in the right place at the right time, Emek.
Yep. Sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah. There you go. So one of the things you talked about was that in your study, you did not find any degradation or any negative side effects, significant negative side effects. And then we're talking about, then you just mentioned NSAIDs and how it works with your endocannabinoid system. They're finding out, but there are some negative side effects there.
Oh, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. Tylenol is the number one overdosed drug in the United States. More people overdose and die from Tylenol than anything else. Alcohol is number two.
Amazing.
So I think part of the evolution and part of the progress that we're making is finding safer and safer alternatives. I mean, what you want to do is find the best result with the least amount of side effects.
Yes.
Right? And that's what we all strive for, is to find something better.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So when it comes to the receptors, now we've talked a lot about CB1 and CB2 receptors and the location in the body and blah, blah, blah. Are they finding new receptors?
They may be. That's something, it's a little out of my field, a little bit out of my wheelhouse.
Wasn't sure if it might have been something you had read in a study or something.
Yeah, I mean, what they're finding is, and I think what they're finding with a lot of these receptors is that other ingredients also interact with them. Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but if you think about it, I mean, look, turmeric curcumin is incredibly effective at a variety of different things. I mean, we could talk for the next 5 hours just about curcumin, nothing else. All the different curcuminoids, not just one, but the three main curcuminoids and everything else that's in turmeric.
Wow.
And we know it's effective, and we know it's augmenting the endocannabinoid system. So the new question now is that really its main path of activity?
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing this over and over again, that the paths, so we understood point A where we started, and we understood point B. What we didn't understand was the line between point A and point B.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We thought it was a straight line, but it turns out, nope, it goes to endocannabinoid system and comes back down. Right. So, like I said, we don't know the answers yet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what it's going to be, but we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's so exciting. So, what do you think? What do you think you want to try to find out next? I mean, you're a scientist, and so you like to find, you like to discover things. So what do you think's your next point of interest?
Well, I think my next point of interest is, because we did the safety study and we got such a huge hit on blood sugar, I would really, really like to understand that mechanism better and even try different kinds of hemps. I mean, different ratios of terpenes, different ratios of endocannabinoids, because what a lot of people don't think about is, why are different hemps so, why do you get different results from them, right? The reality is CBD is CBD. But it's all the other stuff that really makes a big difference, right? So in cannabis, we talk about indica and sativa, and one's an up and one's a down. Well, THC is THC. So what makes one up and one down? Well, it's all the terpenes and other cannabinoids in there. So I think there's still a lot that we need to figure out. I think that it's time to challenge what we think we know and really challenge it and really test it and figure out if it's true or if it's just what we think, but we need to figure more out.
Yeah. And one of the things I like to do is I do try different products, because I like to see, different products made from different oils that have different cannabinoid profiles and terpene profiles and things like that. And so, I move around a bit, just because I like to see what the effect's going to be. And so I do work with people on Medicaid and disability and disabled veterans, and I work with vendors that we're able to get them basically their products. They go through a vetting system, and we can get it to them at wholesale cost, so it saves them a lot of money. Just these very specific people, just these very, people that need it because of their money situations. But one of the things that I found out was that someone had used a gel cap product from one manufacturer and then tried the one from a different manufacturer, completely different oils. And the second one did not work as well as the first one. But then I gave it to another person to try, and it was the first person, it was back pain after surgery. The second, and then he went back to the first capsule and it worked. The second person, it was for bladder spasms due to MS, and so it was still effective. The second pill was effective as the first. So that just, it just kind of reinforces that the terpenes and cannabinoids that are in different oils make a difference. But like with yours, with the product that you have, your liposomal, so it's not an isolate.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I really try to stick to oil that's maybe about 20% CBD, so that we have 80% of other stuff. And my hope is that we have enough of the other minor cannabinoids and the terpenes and the other ingredients that maybe we don't even know are in there yet. We haven't identified them properly.
Yeah.
And that's what's helping our bodies. Like I said, historically, when you look at herbs, there have been so many times where we've purified, an extract and purified it and purified it and purified it. And then, it stopped working.
Yeah.
Right. But we kept on purifying it and making it more concentrated in what we thought was the active. It just turns out that what we thought and reality are two very different things.
Or maybe because it works together with other things.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It's what's termed, I'm not a huge fan of this concept of this term, but the entourage effect. Where
I'm with you on that.
Are larger than the sum of them individually.
Yeah, for sure. And so when you have a specific oil that you're using, and I'm sure that you are looking for consistency in that oil. So you're going to start looking at some other combinations.
That's the future. I mean, first, what I want to do is expand the number of subjects in the study, and we're about to embark on a study of, I think, about 1,000 people.
Nice.
We're going to look at their DNA. We're going to look at a whole variety of things. I mean, it's like, I'm so excited. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And then we're also going to see, hemp versus cannabis, hemp versus other things that are out there. And it's going to be exciting. Once we have that larger data set, Then we're going to go in and look at different formulations, and hopefully it gives us some kind of inclination of, what the next step is. I mean, sometimes you take one step, you evaluate what's going on, then you take the next step. Yeah. So it's basically like walking into a dark room. You can kind of make what's going to happen. You take one step, you can kind of figure it out, then you take another step, and you can't see all the way across the room, but you keep on making forward progress till you get there.
Nice. And if you run into a table, then you can step back and move to the side.
Right. Sometimes you're going to stub your toe, but that's part of the learning process.
Definitely. What's something that, so like we talked about with the study with the PTSD, and things that surprised you with that study, what else surprises you about the efficacy of just basically the hemp plant?
Like I said, it's all new. It is all new, and I really try to go into it with a child's eye and not expect anything, but observe and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you had mentioned the blood sugar thing, which I think is amazing because wow, we have a lot of problems in that area.
The blood sugar thing is somewhat that is known with hemp oil, but at huge monster doses. What's incredible is that at 5 milligrams for 28 days, people came back to homeostasis.
Okay, but let's remember that your 5 milligrams.
Right, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's it's significantly higher. I mean, that 5 milligrams is probably equivalent to close to 100 milligrams.
Yeah, with absorption rates and stuff. So I can see how other products you're going to need that 100 milligrams. So
right.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, because of the minor cannabinoids, that's where the big increase occurs, right? Because usually you just get a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, what's amazing is we've seen this before. I mean, with green tea, we did a study with on the catechins in green tea. And what we found out was that these tiny minor catechins that are barely even noticeable in green tea was where all the action was coming from, right? Wow. And it was actually interesting. It was for chicken feed, right? So we did a study on chickens to help them grow and basically live and not need any antibiotics and things like that. Mm-hmm. And what we found out was when we got their blood levels high in this tiny little catechin that's barely even in green tea, that's where we got the best results. All the rest of the stuff in green tea was almost negligible. It was unnecessary. And what's interesting is that catechin does work on the endocannabinoid system. And of course, chickens have an endocannabinoid system too.
Uh-huh. So, that's amazing. Oh, see, now I've got to tell my friend Sarah. Sarah's pick of the coop. She's a friend of mine. She has 1,000 chickens. She's going to get all excited about catechins and CBD. So
yeah, I mean, I only have 9, but I still love them all.
Oh, and she names them all too. It's very,
of course, they're part of the family.
Yes, they are. So we're talking green tea, and that actually interacts with the cannabinoid system, the cannabinoids, and then we've got the turmeric.
Right.
What are a couple other things that, I mean, like, honestly, this blows my mind. I never actually realized this. So this is very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, ginger, echinacea, hops.
Oh, right? Beer.
Hops and beer. Yeah. I mean, there may be a bigger reason that, humans have such an affinity for beer. It's probably not all that surprising. But I mean, hops isn't exactly a surprise. It comes from the mulberry family of plants, which is the same thing as marijuana and hemp.
Hops. Oh, okay.
I mean, if you ever see what hops looks like, I mean, it looks very, very similar.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a bud. Yeah.
Yep. It looks like a bud. And of course, being in Fort Collins, Colorado, one of the main streets is Mulberry.
Yes,
right?
Yes. Very crowded street at times.
Right. If you go to a brewery, go down Mulberry. You're there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and look, I think as time goes on and we better understand the endocannabinoid system, because it's a new discovery. It takes time. It takes time for us to understand the first step, And then the first step leads to the second step and the third step, and then things really start opening up. But if you think about it, how many endocannabinoid experts are there in the world?
Exactly.
None, really. I mean, there's very few.
Yeah, like Rafi Meshulam. Okay, we'll give him that.
Exactly. You basically have to go to Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key. You have to go to Israel, and then there's lots of endocannabinoid experts in comparison to how many people are in Israel, right?
Yeah. One of the things that's very frustrating to me is that we know that we have an endocannabinoid system. We know how it works and how it benefits your body and helps your body fight off disease and things like that. We also have a medical system which fires patients on a regular basis for using cannabinoids. This is beyond frustrating, and knowing what we know about how this can help us, how are we going to get these doctors to understand what it is that science is proving?
Right. Well, let me start off with this. A lot of these doctors, their hands are tied, right? So they have a medical license they have to hold with the state, and the state says, if you prescribe a cannabinoid, you're going to lose your license.
And
so
I'm not saying prescribe. I'm saying partner with your patient. If they're saying this is something I want to do, don't fire them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's probably a little harsher than is necessary. But for a lot of them, they're just scared to death. It's a thing, right? So I think with the work we're doing, with more science, with more studies, with more clinical evidence, showing that the product is safe, showing that the product absorbs, showing that there's actual true benefit to it, which is starting, right? We're just at that beginning point, right? We're just at the start, and it may not be working as quickly as we'd like it to. So now that we're gathering all this data, we'll be able to go to the medical community and show them all the amazing things that we can do. And that way, they'll accept it because, doctors are going to be data driven.
Yes.
Right. They're not going to fire their patients anymore. They're going to welcome this as a legitimate way to help people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that actually kind of ties into the next thing. So you were kind enough to do this episode before your findings have even been published. So thank you really a lot there. Very appreciative of that.
Look, it's up to us to get the word out that there is good, legitimate science that's being done and executed to show the benefits of hemp.
Okay, so when your study is released, will it be on your puffinhemp.com website?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to put it at every single place I can possibly have it. I'm going to go to the top of the mountain and scream, right?
And people can print this out and bring it to their doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely should. They should show some of the potential benefits and even help educate their doctors.
Yes, and the thing that I like so much is that your study is showing the safety factor, that this isn't something that's going to cause harm, because that, of course, is something that they don't want to do. And so if they can at least get their doctor to understand that the cannabinoids are not going to cause harm, then maybe that's dipping their toe, into the pool of cannabinoids, or at least opening the door to that dark room that they can start stumbling around in.
Exactly.
Okay, so and I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but how can people get the product that you used in the study?
So the product that we use is our standard delivery system, and we can, they can get it from Puff and Hemp. We can refer you to other places. Puff and Hemp is really more of an informational website.
But there's a contact us tab on Puff and Hemp, so that they could go there and
exactly.
Okay.
And pretty soon with the clinical study, we'll have a link directly to the product that was used for the clinical study itself.
Beautiful. Thank you. Because there are people who I'm sure are going to want to try your product or try the liposomal, that that you use. So, fabulous. Okay, so parting words. What do you want people to understand about CBD, cannabinoids, hemp, what have you?
So this is just one tool. It can be a very powerful and a very useful tool, but I want people to remember to eat nutritious food, drink plenty of water, get enough sleep, try and mitigate stress, and then to help them take that extra step, hemp can really partner with them very well and feed their body in a way that's healthy for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. I look forward
Thank
to
you.
doing this again. Actually, maybe next time we'll be in the same room, and which will be a first for the podcast. But truly, you've been a wealth of information for us, and we're very, very grateful.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I want to thank you all for sticking with us tonight. We had some editing that had to get done because of internet lag. So thank you so much for staying with us tonight and listening to everything that Emek Blair had to say. Just amazing, amazing gentleman with so much knowledge, and we really look forward to having him on again. So until next episode, stay happy and stay healthy.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.